Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's been a while since I've been active here. I've been away for some time and I've been busy with personal stuff. I want to express my gratitude to those who reached out to check on me and kept calling to see when I would be releasing a new video. Well, here I am and welcome to my Git and GitHub tutorial. If you are new to this channel, I recommend subscribing and checking out the other videos as well. Without further ado, let's get started. Now, as usual, I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint slide, which contains my Git and GitHub lecture guide. Now, first, we'll be looking at what is Git and GitHub. Then we'll go over to the difference between Git and GitHub, then why Git and GitHub, that's to say why we should learn Git and GitHub. After that, we'll go to creating a GitHub account, creating a GitHub repositories. Then we'll go over the difference between a GUI and a CLI. This is a very interesting topic. Then after that, we'll go over to basic share navigation, then clone the repository, then we'll look at basic Git commands. Then after that, we'll go over to Git branches and merging. Then that's pretty much it. Now, what is Git and GitHub? Git is a distributed version control system that tracks changes in any set of computer files, usually used for coordinating work among programmers who are collaboratively developing source code during software development. Then what about GitHub? GitHub is a developer platform that allows developers to create, store, manage, and share their codes. Now I've succeeded in giving you definitions of Git and GitHub, which I believe you can get from anywhere. Like for mine, I got them from the internet. But if you look at these definitions very well, you get an understanding of what Git and GitHub is. Now, Git, like we said, is a version control system. When we say version control system, it means we want to track different stages of our program. So, like I said, it tracks changes in any set of computer and to coordinate work among programmers who are collaborating on a project. So, let's say, for instance, I'm working on a project alongside other developers. With the help of Git, we can keep track of the changes we made to the project and how we can effectively collaborate on that project. Now we'll talk about version control system. There are different types or kinds of version control system. I have Git, there's also Subversion, Mercurial, Perforce, and Microsoft Team Foundation version control, etc. Now, we said Git is a distributed version control system. What do we mean by that distributed? A distributed version control system is a type of version control system where the entire code base, including its full version history, is on every developer's computer. That's to say, for a distributed version control system, there's a complete copy of the repository on every developer's system, which allows them to work independently without needing a constant access to a central server. And this allows teams like local repository, branching and merging, decentralized workflow, and high availability and redundancy. So we can see the power of Git and GitHub for collaboration between developers. Now, before we go into writing codes and commands and all of this stuff, I would like to give you a scenario of where Git and GitHub is truly powerful. Now, let's imagine that you're about to develop a website for a client and there is no Git or GitHub for version control. Now, after developing and submitting the website to the client might not just accept the work immediately. Maybe probably for some reason, it might feel like it doesn't like your font family or the color you use for him or a particular image and so on and so forth. Now, what will happen? It might ask you to change it. Then after changing it, now that first change you make, let me just call it around the first edit. After making the first edit, then submitting the website again, it might also come back again saying, okay, it doesn't like the way this text is sitting over here and all of this stuff. And make a second edit. Let me say that might repeat itself for up to 5 or 6 times. So you've succeeded in developing that or updating that project for 6 times. Now, after that, the client might come back and say he wants the previous or the first design you gave to him, that initial design you gave to him at first. He might say you want that one. So what you do is that you know, you start thinking of that design because there was no backup, no version control system or anything. You start thinking of it, the colors and everything. So you find out that it's very stressful. I don't know if you get my point. Now, a possible solution to this might be to copy and paste the project after each development. Let me say, after developing the first one, when the client comes for correction, you copy and paste it. So after developing that one again, when the client comes back for correction, you copy and paste that code and edit the other one, so and so on and so forth. Let me say this continues for up to 6 times. Now you notice that you've actually given a solution to your problem. That's to say, you don't have to, think or do any other thing again. All you just need to do is just to go back to that first project. I don't know if you are getting my point. Just to go back to the first project and deploy that one for the client. Now, this is good. You succeeded in solving the problem. In fact, you don't even need to stress yourself or write any more code. But there's still the problem. The problem is that you are wasting space in the memory of your computer. Imagine a file or a folder of a complete project. Imagine copying and pasting that project up to 6 times, because after the client has accepted the project, you would not want to delete all of the other ones, because you might be thinking that he or she might come back and ask for any of those other versions. I don't know if you get my point. So you just keep them, but then you are wasting space or you are wasting memory in your computer. That's why Git and GitHub is very powerful and important. The reason is because for Git and GitHub, you can keep track of those changes without wasting space in your computer. I don't know if you get my point. So that's for that. Now let's go over to GitHub. I've said a lot about Git. Let's go over to GitHub. Now GitHub, like we said, is a developer platform. That's to say, when we say developer, let's just say it's like a social media. Let me put it that way. So it's like a social media for developers that allows us to create, store, and manage. I don't know if you get my point. When we talk about Git only allows us to create repositories, do all of those stuffs locally. But when we talk about GitHub now, GitHub is like a remote system whereby, when combined with Git, we can get a local and a remote version of our project. So with the help of GitHub, I can create a remote repository, then add my local repository to that remote repository. Now, the importance of GitHub is that, um, if I'm using Git to keep track or keep changes of my code and all of those stuff, I might lose my system one of the days. Maybe lost the system or might get spoiled beyond repair and all of this stuff. But if I have a GitHub account whereby my projects now that are on my local repository are now being saved to a remote repository, I don't need to be afraid of anything. I can decide to throw my system away, lost my system, or you know, even if the system got spoiled or something but beyond repair also. I know that with the help of my GitHub account, which has remote repositories, I can also get all of my codes and keep track of them. So that's just that about Git and GitHub. So Git is a version control system, while GitHub is a platform for developers, like a social media for developers. So why Git does things locally, GitHub will help you save your files remotely. And remember, I said Git helps to keep track of our changes locally, while GitHub helps to keep track remotely. But now, how are these two combined, or how are they merged? Now, Git can interact or connect to a remote server. An example of remote server is something like GitHub. Now, there are other examples of remote servers such as GitLab and Bitbucket, etc. So next on my slide, I have the difference between Git and GitHub. Well, I've actually been explaining all of this, but let's just read this out. Git is a version control system itself, while GitHub is a hosting platform for Git repositories with additional collaboration features. I think I've explained all of these when I talked about Git being locally and GitHub being remotely. And also, Git is used for tracking changes locally and managing version control, okay, locally, while Git or adds a social and collaborative layer on top of Git repositories, making it easier for teams to work together on projects. So, with all this said, the difference between Git and GitHub is very clear. Now, why should we learn Git and GitHub? Now, the first reason being that Git and GitHub empowers you to effectively manage your code. I think I've also explained all of these. Then also collaborate, it helps collaborate with others, also contribute to open source projects. Now, most of the projects we are using I think most of them are open source. Now, the reason why we are being able to get them and enjoy the features we are enjoying today is because of Git and GitHub. So that's one of the advantage or the reason why we should learn Git and GitHub. With Git and GitHub, we can easily contribute to open source projects. Then also it streamlines our development workflow. Lastly, Git and GitHub are essential tools for everyone involved in software development. So I think those explanation I did at first, I did them not knowing that these things have been added to my slide. So if you compare them, you notice that most of them are the same. So that's for that. Then let's actually head over to creating our GitHub account so we can create our repositories and also install Git and Git Bash and learn about some commands. Now, how do we create a GitHub account? The first thing is to head over to github.com, then sign up for an account using your email and password, then also verify your account. So let me head over to my browser. So this is me on my browser. Now, what I need to do is to go to github.com. Now, if you are just going into this website for the very first time, you are not going to see this. All you see is something like login or sign up and stuff like that. Me, I'm already logged in on this browser, so that's why you can see all of this. Like I said, it's like a social media, so this is the feed and all of those stuff. Then now I'll go over to my own account. I'll go to my profile. Here on my profile, I can see the overview, things I've done, and popular repositories. Then I can also see all of my repositories, projects, and stars, etc. So these are my followers and following and other links. So now, in creating a new repository, all I need to do is to click on new, right? So when I click on new, then I can call this YouTube lecture as the name of my repository. Now, after creating this repository, I could give it the description. Let me just say this is a lecture repo. Then I could decide to leave it public or private. Now, when we say public, it means everyone can see it. Then private, you are the only one that can see it. So that's for that. I can add the README file. The README is like a documentation of the project and all of the stuff. So click on new repositories. We've succeeded in creating the repository. Now, this is my repository. Now, please take note, this is a remote repository. Now, I said something earlier on. I said if you are just starting out Git and GitHub for the very first time, it means you don't have Git Bash installed. So let's go over to a new window and search for Git, just Git. Now, when you search for Git, this is what you get. Remember, I said Git and GitHub are two different things. Now, if I don't have Git installed on my system, I can't do any of the Git or GitHub commands. So please take note, we need to have Git installed. So to install Git, just go to Git, search for Git on Google, then click on this first link. I think it will direct you to the official website, which is gitscm.com. Now, if you want to download Git and Git Bash, you download based on your operating system. So when you click on the download, search for your particular operating system. I think I'm using Windows. When I click for Windows, I think that will be downloaded. If I could decide to choose if I want to download for 32 bits or 64 bits, etc. So after installing Git Bash, I don't think OBS will be able to capture this my desktop background or my desktop environment. So after installing, what you do is that you open the program. After opening the program, just to run it and install it on your computer. Then after doing all of those stuff, you will be able to get something like this. So when you open it, this is what you see. This is the Git Bash interface. Now that's for that. So like I said, I've been able to explain how to create GitHub account and also explain how to download and install Git. Now, next on my slide, let's look at the differences between a GUI and a CLI. Now, it's very important to know the difference between a GUI and a CLI before going into any of these stuff. Now, when we say a GUI, the full meaning of GUI means graphic user interface. A GUI lets a user interact with the device or system with the help of graphical elements like windows, menu, icons, etc. Now, examples of GUIs that can be used for development are our text editors such as the VS Code, Atom, Bracket, and other IDEs like PyCharm, and the rest of them, etc. Then on the other hand, the CLI means command line interface. Now the CLI lets a user interact with their device or system with the help of various commands. Now, examples of CLIs are VS Code Terminal. I also have the command prompt or the CMD. There's also the Windows PowerShell. There's also Git Bash. And there are some other ones, I think Commander as well, that can be installed or downloaded. While GUI lets us interact by using graphics and all of that stuff. Like a GUI is very easy. Like when you open your computer for the very first time, you see those icons and desktop and windows and all of those stuff. Those are examples of GUI. The reason is because you are communicating with the computer by clicking on little graphical icons. I don't know if you understand. So also it is when you open your VS Code, you see an icon for file, an icon for folder, and all of those stuff. So those are examples of GUI. You interact with the computer by using graphics and all of those other stuff. While for a CLI, which stands for command line interface, you are interacting with the computer with or by the use of commands. So please take note of those stuff. So with this said, we already know that among a GUI and a CLI, GUI is way easier compared to a CLI. As I say, if I want to interact with my computer, all of the things we've been doing before now, those are GUIs you get. Because all you need to do is just to click on VS Code icon, your VS Code will open and all of those stuff. While for a CLI, we are using command. Next on my slide is basic shell navigation. Wow, this is getting interesting. I trust you might not want to miss this. Before I get into basic shell navigation, I want to talk about the different kinds of operating system we have. Now, for operating systems, there are majorly two operating systems, which are the Windows and the Unix operating system. Um, some people might decide to group this into three. They'll say Windows, Linux, and Mac operating system, and so on and so forth. Well, I could say the Linux and the Mac are under the Unix operating system. So if you are taking it into two groups, you can say Windows and Unix. While if you are taking it into three groups, you can say Windows, Linux, and Mac operating system. So why am I bringing this? Now, the reason is because an average Unix operating system user knows most of this command, how much more we that are developers. Because in our environment, we find out that we are mostly using the Windows operating system. So it's kind of difficult to learn this Unix command, or we might really not have the chance to learn this Unix command. And now this Git Bash makes use of the Unix operating system command. So let me put it that way. That's why I added basic shell navigation as a topic to this tutorial. So let's learn some of the basic shell commands. Okay, the first on my list is the pwd. So let's go back to Git Bash. So if you look at this stuff, it's very small. So if I want to make it big, you just use Control and plus. So that will be used to zoom in, and Control and minus will be used to zoom out. So let me make it big. So I think it's okay like this. So the first command on my list is pwd. Now pwd means print working directory. Now my working directory is in my C user slash admin. Okay, so that's the current part I'm in. Now it's kind of difficult because we are seeing something like admin desktop Mingo 64. So from my PowerPoint slide, second command is ls. So when I do ls, it is used to view all of the folders and files I have inside of this current directory I'm in. So you can see I have the app data, application data, contacts, cookies, desktop, document downloads, and all of those things. Remember, if you are switching on your laptop for the first time, the I think the first place you encounter is the desktop. So in order for this to be way easier, I think we should cd means to change directory to desktop. So when I do this, this is what I will get. I will get this guy over here. So I'm now on my desktop. So how do I know I'm on my desktop? If I ls, yeah, I can see the things on my desktop. I have YouTube folder on my desktop, Amazon KDP folder, default track template, and the rest of them folder. One movies, new webcam projects, and the rest of them. So ls is used to list files. So if I want to clear my screen, I can use the clear. So that's for that. So there's what we call ls-le. So what ls-le does is that it brings all of the files and folders we have in this current directory, and additional informations, things like when the folder has been created and all of those stuff. So please take note of this. So I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint slide and check what I have next again. So I've showed you guys pwd, ls, and cd. Remember I said cd is used to change directory. So let me show you something on the cd again. So if I go back to Git Bash, when I say cd dot dot cd space dot dot, that will be used to leave a directory. So if I say clear, so we can say cd could mean change directory or current directory. So when I see ordinary cd, it will just give me the current place I'm in. But once I say cd desktop, it means change directory to desktop. Inside of my desktop, if I say cd and new, there's a new folder there. It will take me inside of that folder. So take note of that. So cd means change directory. But if I want to go out of that directory, what I will do is to say cd space dot dot. So that will be used to go out of the directory. So please take note of that. So let me clear my screen again. So now I'll go back to my PowerPoint slide. I think the next one I have is mkdir, which stands for make directory. Then rmdir stands for remove directory. So let's go back to Git Bash and practice this command. So if I want to create a new folder, take note, a folder is seen as a directory. I can do something like mkdir. Then I want this to be a new underscore folder. Now, if I should do something like this, it means I want to create two folders. I don't know if I get it. So in order for me to be on the safe side, I need to join them using an underscore or an hyphen. So this time I like going with the underscore. The reason is because for most programming languages, the hyphen is seen as a minus, so I just prefer using the underscore to be on the safe side. So if I do something like this thing is being created successfully. So all I need to do in order for me to see this folder is to ls again. Remember, ls is to list all of the files and folder. Remember, this is the new folder we entered the other time. Then this is our folder, the one we just created. Let me just clear my screen. If I say cd and I say ne, but if I press tab, it will give me the first of its kind. That is to say, it will give me the first one that matched it. Let me just put it that way. So if I want to get my new folder, I need to say cd new underscore. So I cannot use tab. So it will give me this one. This is the one that is matching it now. So if I do this, I'm now inside the new folder. Or let me just say cd dot dot. I can decide to say cd new underscore folder as well. So please take note of that. So if I clear now, if I ls over here, I won't have anything. The reason is because this is an empty folder or an empty directory. So how do I create files inside of this? I can use the touch command, right? So I can make use of the touch command. But before I do that, I want to make another directory instead of this directory. So I can say mkdir, I'll say sub directory, right? So if I ls now, can you see what I'm getting? I'm getting the subdirectory. So remember, there's a command called rmdir, which stands for remove directory. So if I say rmdir, then this sub underscore dir is cty. So I've succeeded in removing this directory. By the time I ls again, it's no longer there. So if I clear my screen, okay, let me not clear the screen. If I mkdir again and I say okay sub, that's why. Remember the other time I said if I do something like mkdir and I say let me say new directory. Remember, by doing something like this without joining with an underscore, it will create two directories. It will create new as a directory and dir as another directory. So by the time I do this and I ls, can you see what I'm getting? I have dir new and sub. So please take note of that. So I want to show you something. I think the next is supposed to be the touch command. Okay, cp and cv. Okay, all of this stuff. Okay, before we get to that, so let me talk about the touch. If I want to create a file, that's when I'll make use of the touch command. So let me go back to, okay, now if I clear my screen and I say something like touch index dot txt, let me just do it this way, index dot txt, and I say touch text dot txt new dot txt. Remember, this is creating two files for me, so let me just add another one. Let me see index.html. By the time I do this, I've succeeded in creating three new files in addition to what I have before. So by the time I ls, This is what I'm getting. So if I want to see when these things are being created, I can say ls-la. So this is what I will get, February 28th and all of this stuff. So let me clear my screen. Then now I want to show you something. Remember the rmdir command is used to remove the directory. So before I do that, let me ls. So if you look at this place, I'm having this dir as a directory, new as a directory, and sub as a directory. So I could decide to do something like this, rmdir, then the new. That one will be removed from there. So by the time I do ls, you can see it's no longer there. But I can't do this command, or I can't use this command on a file. By the time I say rmdir, then I say index.html. This is what I'm getting. It said fail to remove index.html is not a directory. So please take note that command can only work for directory. So how do we remove a file? If you want to remove a file, you say rm, then the file name index.html. So this is what we remove it. So by the time I ls, you can see index.html is no longer there. I'm now having index.txt, new.txt. So please take note. Why rm is used to remove a file, rmdir is used to remove a directory. So please take note of that. So let me pull up my PowerPoint slide and see what next I'm having. Now my PowerPoint slide, I've talked about the rm. What about rm-rf? So let me talk about that rm-rf. Now, what the rm-rf does is used to remove a folder or a directory that has files in it. So let me go back and demonstrate this. So by the time I come back to my Git Bash, I can do something like clear my screen, then ls, right? So if I say rm-rf-dir, now this is what we'll get. ls. You can see that that one is no longer there, which is the dir directory. It's no longer there. um let's assume this is having files inside of it. Okay, this is what I will do. I will say cd sub, right? So I will say cd sub, right? So now what I want to do is that I want to create files inside of this. So if I do something like touch index.html, style.css, script.js. Let me just do this. So I've succeeded in creating three files inside of this. If I say ls, this is what I'm getting. So I want to clear my screen, right? Then ls. Remember, I'm inside of the sub directory. So all I need to do to go out of this is to cd dot dot, right? Then now if I say ls, this is what I'm getting. Now remember, rmdir is used to remove a directory. Now that's used for an empty directory. Let me just put it that way. So if the directory or the folder is having files in it, that's when I'll make use of the rm-rf. So if I try this command rmdrsub, so if I do this, you can see failed to remove sub directory because the directory is not an empty one. I don't know if I'm getting my point. So if I ls, you can see if I see the inside of this sub and I ls, you can see that this is not an empty directory. So let me see the dot dot again, right? So this is where the power of rm-rf is. So if I say rm, let me demonstrate this again, rmdirsub, you can see it's not an empty directory. But by the time I do something like rm-rf, then sub, and see what is happening. So it's been removed successfully. So by the time I ls, you can see that it's no longer there. So please take note of that. So let me clear my screen. So let's look at these other commands, cp, cv, and the rest of them. Let me go back to my PowerPoint slide. So I've talked about the rm, which is used to remove a file, then rm-rf to remove a directory that contains files. So please take note of that. rmdir to remove an empty directory, mkdir make an empty directory. So let's talk about the cp and the mv. The cp is used to copy a file from one location to another, while the mv is used to move a file from one location to another. The mv is also used to rename a file as well. So let's go back to our git bash and let's demonstrate this. Now this is me on my git bash. The first thing I want to do is to ls. Let's see what we're having. Okay, remember we had three files before we left. The next thing I'll do is that I'm going to create two directories in order to demonstrate this. So all I need to do is to say something like mkdir. Let me call these directories new and sub. So by the time I ls, you notice I'm having the new and the subdirectory. So I'll cd into my new directory. So ls, there's nothing in it. I wanted to clear. Now before we go real quick, you can use the up arrow key to go back to your previous command, as well as the down arrow key to come to go forward. So please take note of that. So I will say touch. I want to create two files. I will say new .txt. I will say new file .txt. So I've created two files in here. By the time I ls, you notice that I'm having two files here. So I'm going to cd dot. Take note of the space. If you don't put the space, it won't work. So if I say cd, I see that it's not working. So please take note of that. So let me clear my screen. Cd into my sub. Remember the sub, there's nothing on it yet. So all I need to do is to see touch. I'll say sub.txt. I'll say sub underscore file.txt. So please take note of that. Now, if I ls, you can see that I'm having two files here. Now, the reason I brought the idea of going back and forth in time is because there are some commands I've typed already. So typing it out would be kind of difficult and time consuming. So I'll just make use of my up arrow key to go back in time. So please take note of that. Remember, let's talk about the mv first. I said the mv can be used to rename a file, right? So if I say mv sub.txt, and I said something like new sub.txt. By the time I do this and ls, you notice that there's no sub.txt again. I'm only having new sub.txt. So I've succeeded in renaming the file. So please take note of that. So I'm going to go back in time again. So I want to take it back from new sub to sub, right? So I think I prefer using that sub. So let me just say new underscore sub to sub. So by the time I ls, I've succeeded in renaming it back. So if I clear my screen, what I'm going to do now is that I want to let me ls again. I want to copy this sub.txt to, okay, I'm making use of the mv command rather. I want to move this sub.txt into the new folder. Let me do that. So remember, pwd is used to print working directory, right? So by the time you want to do any of those copy or move functionality, what you do is that you need a complete directory or the file path of that particular file. So please take note of that. You can call it file URL as well. Please take note. So I'm in my C users admin desktop new folder sub. Please take note of that. So what I want to do is that I want to move sub.txt into another file, right? So I'll do something like mv, then I'll say /c/users. Okay, let me just type it out. Let me just type it admin /desktop, right? /new underscore folder /subfolder /sub.txt. So please, this is the correct file part of this, or this is the full file part of this sub.txt file. Then I want to paste it inside of c/users/admin /desktop, right? Then /new folder slash new. So this is what I will do. So by the time I run this command, you can see that it runs successfully. Now remember, I'm using the mv, and I say the mv is used to move, so it means this sub.txt will no longer be here. So if I ls, and this is what I'm having only sub file, so the sub.txt is no longer here. So by the time I cd dot and I cd into the new ls, this is what I'm having new.txt, new file.txt, sub.txt. So please take note of that. So let me clear my screen. Now, like I said, I want to show you the cp command. Remember, I said the cp is used to copy. Let me just use that way. So if I want to copy any file from this directory to, remember, I'm in my new directory. If I want to copy any of these files here, let me ls. Let me say I want to copy the new file.txt to the sub folder or the subdirectory. So I can use something like go back in time, right? So this is it. So there's no need for us typing this out again. So by the time I come back, remember, I'm inside of my new, right? So let me just change this guy to new, then come back. So let me say new.txt. Remember, I want to make use of my cp command, not the mv. Remember, cp is used to copy, mv is used to move, right? So please take note of that. So if I want to take this down to my sub sub, this is what I will get. By the time I ls, you notice that I still have what I'm having here, the new.txt, new file.txt, and the sub.txt. But by the time I see the dot dot, right, and I see the into my subdirectory and I ls, this is what I'm getting. Now I've succeeded in copying that file that was in my new, which is this new.txt. I've succeeded in copying it here. So you can see that it's inside my subdirectory and it's also inside of my new directory. So please take note of that. So that's pretty much that about that. Sorry, I want to clear my screen. Now, let me go back to my PowerPoint slide. We've succeeded in looking at all of these commands. So let's look at the cat command and the echo. I didn't add echo to my. So let's look at the cat command. Now, what the cat command is used for? The cat command is used to display the content I'm having on the file, right? Now, please take note, these are not all of the commands. There are some commands I'm going to be writing now. I think the echo command, and I didn't add it here. So let me go back to my Git Bash. Let me talk about the echo and the cat command. Now, what the echo command is used for? The echo command is used to write in a file or write to a file. Let me put it that way. So by the time I do something like ls, if you look at this place, I'm having new.txt and subfile.txt. If I say something like um, echo greater than, and I do something like this, sorry, echo new file text, right, greater than new.txt. Now if I ls, you notice I'm still having the new.txt and the subfile.txt. So by the time I do something like cat new.txt, what the cat command is doing is that it will display the content of that file. You can see I have new file text, which was what I wrote inside of the file. So please take note. So echo command is used to write in a file. Now please take note, this command, right, this command over here, what it's doing is that it's recreating this and replacing the previous one I have there. Now how do I know that? So if I do something like echo, right, and I say new file, the new file text again, right, and I say greater than new.txt, watch what I will get. So if I do this and I ls, remember I'm still having both of those guys, right? So if I by the time I say cat new.txt, notice I'm having new file text again. So my previous text is gone, you get. So what this guy is doing is that it's overwriting what is there and creating a new file. So let me just put it that way. So what does this mean? It means that I can use this command to create a new file as well as writing to the new file. So let me just do something like this. So if I come back here and I say, okay, I don't want this to be new text, I want it to be new text file. Let me just do something like this. So if you notice, this will create new text file and also write new file text again inside of it. So let me do something like this. So if I clear my screen and I ls, this is what I'm getting. So by the time I say cat new underscore text file.txt, right, you can see what I'm getting. So please take note of that. So by the time I do something like cat new .txt, that's what I'm getting. Now with this said, how do I now write inside a file that already has content in it? As I say, how do I append text to a file? So if you want to append text to a file, instead of you to say echo new text again appended, let me just do something like, instead of you to do something like this, new.txt, because if I do something like this, it will overwrite what was there, right, and like recreating the file again. So instead of me to do this, I'm supposed to use two of this symbol, two greater than symbol. So by the time I do this, now this will be appended into the file. So by the time I do cat new.txt, right, can you see what I'm having? So please take note of that. So if I want more, let me just go back in time and say something like appended again. So if I do this and I cat this is what I will get. So please take note of that. So by the time I clear my screen, right, this is what I will get. Now Git Bash or these terminals or these CLIs, they normally come with some text editor, things like Vim, Emacs, and the rest of them. I'm well aware of Vim. So if I want to open Vim, so if I ls and I want to open Vim, I can say vim new.txt, right? So this is me on the Vim editor. Now the first thing I will do is that let me move my cursor using my arrow key so you can see what is happening. I don't think I can type inside of this. Oh, now this text editor um is not like our regular text editor and the rest of them. Some of these buttons means some things. Okay, so I think there was a time I studied this text editor and the rest of them. So please take note of that. That's why and see what is happening. So some of these things mean something. Now, again, I've mistakenly pressed the insert command. So you can't be able to type unless you press I. Okay, so if I escape and try to type, you can see what is happening. Okay, so I've pressed I again. So that's why I'm not able to type. So let me escape this. Right? So I want to add more text to this. So what will happen is this. If I press enter, you can see it's not working. So if I press I'll go into insert mode so I can press enter to work, right? So I'll come down, I'll see text added through Vim text editor, right? I can see new text added again, right? So please take note of this stuff. So now what will happen is this. I want to come back and let me just clean all of this. I think I wrote new text again, appended again. I think that was what I had before. So in order for me to demonstrate the all other commands, I think I need to add more text to this. So let me just see line 1. Let me see line 1, line 1. Let me see line 2, line 2, right? Line 4, line 5, line 6, line 7, line 8, line 9, line 10. So let me just leave this. I think this is more than 10 lines now. So what will happen is this. After writing in your Vim text editor, the next thing to do is to escape, right? So after escaping, how do you save this text? You use something like colon W to write. It means to write to a file. As to say all of this new text will be written to this file. But now I want to write and quote, so I will do something like colon WQ, right? So by the time I press enter and I press cat new.txt, now this is what I will get. I have all of this new text added to it, so please take note of that. If I want to add another text, I can simply use my echo, right? Then I will say another text, right? And I'll say greater than new.txt. Remember, if I just use a single greater than, what will happen? It will override all of the text I have there. So please take note of that. So by the time I do this, I clear my screen and I go back in time and do this. You see what I'm having? So please take note of that. So let me pull up my PowerPoint slide and let's see what I have next. So I have the more or the less command. So please take note of that. Now the more or less command, I think they pretty much do the same thing. So let me just go back to my Git Bash and try it. So this is me on my Git Bash. I can do something like more, um, more new.txt, right? So it's a more command not found. I think when I did my study on this, I think this is not recognized in Git Bash or so whatsoever. But if I use the less command, lex new.txt, I think it will open what I'm having here. So please take note of this. So please take note of this. So let me just colon WQ, right? So if I cut new.txt, I think I'm still having everything intact. So please take note of that. So let's just look at the two last command and uh, let's see. Now I have the head and the tail. Like as the name implies, the head command is used to show the beginning of a file and the tail is used to show the end of a file. So please take note of that. Now if I go back to my Git Bash, the reason I added more lines to, or the reason I added more text to my file was because I want to demonstrate the head and tail command. Now the head, like I said, is used to give the start of a file, which is the first 10 line by default, right? So please take note of that. So if I do something like clear and I say head new.txt. Let's see what we get. You can see I'm having the first 10 lines. So this is line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So please take note of that. So if I say something like tail new.txt, I will have the last 10 lines. So please take note 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So please take note of that. So that's pretty much is about that. Now, with these commands, I believe we've been able to, learn and understand a little bit of the share navigation. So please take note of them. They are not that difficult. It's best to, learn them by practice and all of this stuff. So please take note of them. So the next on my slide is go back to my slide. So the next on my slide is basic Git commands. So let's see, what are these Git commands or how are they used? Now, like I said, there are two ways of doing this Git stuff. Now, the first case scenario would be if there is a repo already on my remote repository and I want to, get that repo and add files to it and push back. So that's one. The secondly, if I was working on a local repository and I want to add it to a remote repository, so please take note of that. That's why I separated it. The first one I said clone a remote repository and pushing to it. Then second one I said pushing a local repository to a remote repository. So please take note of that. So how do we do these stuffs? Now it's very easy. Now the first thing I will do is this. Remember, we created a GitHub repository the other time. So let me just demonstrate that one at first. Now, if I come back to my Chrome browser, so this be on my Chrome browser. The next thing I will do is to go over to github.com, and this will take me directly to my account. All right, now the next thing I'll do is to head over to repositories. I will click on this YouTube lecture. Remember, that was the repository we created before. So let me click on it and let's clone this repository. Now, if you remember very well, we added the README file to it. So please take note. We are going to see the README when this opens. So this is the README file. This is the only file here, right? Now, there are different ways to add a file. I could decide to click on this place, upload files locally and all of those stuff. But that's really not the developer style of doing things. You need to learn how to use your command line too. So all I need to do is to click on this place. I'm seeing SSH, GitHub CLI, and HTTPS. So you just to take the HTTPS, then you can also download the zip file, which is not advisable. Then open with GitHub desktop, not advisable. Um, so I want to make use of my CLI. That's why I'm making. That's why I'm taking this URL. Now the next thing I will do is to go back to my Git Bash, right? On my Git Bash, this is what I will do. Now remember, this is my new folder slash subdirectory, right? Now all I need to do is to go back to my desktop. I want this thing to be on my desktop, so I can say cd dot dot, right? And I'll say cd dot dot again. Right now I'm now on my desktop. Now if I ls, remember this will list all of the files, but if I say git clone, right, then I'll paste this guy. By the time I paste, which is the link I copied from my GitHub account, and when I do this, now this will clone into this repository. Network is pretty slow, so yeah, it has cloned. Now what I'll do is that I will ls to see if it's there. Remember, it's called YouTube underscore lecture, right? So this is it over here. Now the next thing I'll do is that I'll clear my screen and I'll see the into this YouTube, press my tab, YouTube underscore. Remember, I have a YouTube folder, that's why the tab gave me that YouTube. Now if I'm cloning from a remote repository, by default it comes to the main branch. Let me put it that way. Now if I ls, remember I'm only having readme file. Is that not so? So please take note of this. Then the next thing to do is that I can decide to create my files and folders in here. I can say something like touch index.html, style.css, right? Then script.js. And after everything, I could decide to push them back to GitHub. So by the time I ls, this is what we're having. So please take note of this. Now I want to show you something. If I open this folder inside of my VS Code, this is what we'll get. To open this in VS Code, you can do it in tools. You can decide to press code slash code space dot, and by the time you press enter, it will open this in VS Code directly for you. So please take note. I don't want to use this command. So all I need to do, I can go back to my VS Code, right? And I'll add this folder. So if I come to file, I don't think OBS will capture this, but I'll just say come to add folder to workspace, then locate your desktop. It's called YouTube underscore lecture. So this is it over here. So this is it. Remember, these are the stuffs I created. So I can do something like this. Sorry, do this. It doesn't work. I don't know. HTML. Don't know why it's not working for me. Index.html. Okay, right. Uh, why is this command not working? Seems like I've tempered with something. So what I'll do, let me just say something like HTML, right? Then HTML. That also. So let me just do something like this. I can't believe I'm the one doing this. So let me see add add. But never mind. We don't want to write anything inside of this. So I just want to show you that, okay, when you create that and open this in VS Code, you see all of the files. So please take note. Now, the reason I wrote this, I want to show you something. Remember, I wrote this in my VS Code, right? So if I go back to Git Bash, I want to let you know that we can still see these things. So please take note of that. So this is me on my Git Bash. I want to cat index.html. Remember, cat is the command for viewing the file content, right? So you can see I'm having HTML, add HTML. So please take note. That's just what I wanted to see. Then also, remember, if I pull up my PowerPoint slide, remember on the PowerPoint slide, after cloning, what do? You create your files and the rest, right? Then after creating your files and things you want to push to the repository, all you need to do is to go back and say git add, right? Now, how do you add a file to Git? Now let's go back to Git Bash. Now, if I want to do that, I can do something like git add the file name, right? So what's the file name here? I could do something like git add index.html. That also. Now I want to show you something on VS Code. Let's keep track of all of this stuff. Now on VS Code, right? Now you notice that these things are kind of green in color. That's one. The reason is because this is a Git repository and GitHub has not kept track of these files. That's why they're green in color. So please take note of that. Now remember I said git add index.html. So if you look at this script and style, they are showing you. I think this U means on track. That's to say Git has not kept track of them. But if you look at this one, I've added this by using the git add, right? Then the file name. So the status of this one is showing, okay, fine, this has been added, right? So please take note of that. So if you notice when okay, I don't think OBS will capture that. So please take note of that, take note of that, take note of that, take note of that. Now if I go over to my Git Bash again, uh what I just showed you is a way of adding a single file. If I want to add multiple files, I can say git add space dot. So what this will do, sorry, what this will do is that it will add all untracked files. So if I say git add space dot, right? Now please take note of this. So by the time I go back to my VS Code, I want you guys to take note of this. You can see that the status of these other files are now changed to A, just as what I have on the index. So please take note. It means that their status is showing okay added. Git has they've been added using Git. So please take note of that. So let me go back to my Git Bash and try something else. Now here on Git Bash, this is what I want to do. Now if I say git status, now this is what I will get. This is what I'm having. It's saying okay, git restore stage files, okay, blah. So I have new file, new file, new file. So index.html script style. Now what this is saying is that Git has taken note of these guys. As you see, they've been added. So if I should create a new file by saying touch new.txt, right? And I use this command again, git status. Now this is what I'll get. This is what I'm having. It's saying git has these guys have been staged. That's one. Index, script, and style. But this guy is not yet tracked. So please take note of this. Now The next thing I will do is to say git commit -m. Now what this is doing, you are committing this by sending a commit message, right? So please take note. So if I say git commit -m, I could do something like added new files, or you could see some people say initial commit. You get? So now what this is saying, this is like the time you work on this particular project, what did you work on? You get? That's what you type on this message. Maybe you updated header also, or any of those stuff. What did you work on? So git will use this commit message, including your commit id, to keep track of the changes you are making. So please take note of this. So if I do this, and so you say three files change, right? Now the next command is supposed to say git push, right? Origin. What origin am I pushing to? I'm pushing to the main branch. You get? So if I run this command to work, but if you are doing this for the first time, it won't work. The reason is because you need to log in GitHub on your CLI. So let me put it that way. Now what does that mean? There are some commands you do. You do something like git config, right? -hyphen global, right? User.name, then you put your username, the same thing, user.email, and put your username. Then after doing this, you go back to your GitHub account. Let me just show you the steps. Um, okay, let me just push first before I show you the step. So let me just say git push origin main. So by the time I do this, okay, what's happening? Okay, unable to access this. Okay, my network is out, so let me just connect it again. Okay, I've connected my network. In order for you to work with in order for you to push to GitHub, clone, and all those stuff, your network needs to be connected. So if I run this command again, let's watch what we get. So let's just give it a little bit of time. So as you can see, these guys have been pushed to GitHub, right? Enumerating objects, 5 done, counting, and the rest of them. So please take note of that. Take note of that. Now what just happened? I think uh we only have three files pushed. Take note, this new.txt is not pushed. So please take note of that. So if I say this status, right, you can see what I'm having. I'm having your branches up to date. This is not yet tracked, and the rest of them. So please take note of that. So let me go back to my browser, right? Let me go back to my browser. Okay, let me go back to VS Code first. Now if you look at my VS Code, you can see those ones that went through, the green color is no longer there, right? But if you look at this new one, it's saying untracked and the rest of it. So please take note of that. Let me go back to my browser. Now this is me on my browser, right? All I need to do is just refresh this page. So as you can see, remember I pushed my index, script, and style. So please take note of this, right? So they are being pushed here. You can see I'm not just having the readme.md file. So please take note of that. I remember I said something. I said when you are just doing this for the first time, you have to um, log in using your username and your email. Then after that, when you try to push for the first time, it will open a window, right? Now that window will ask for a token. So that's just like a password. Now how do you generate the token? You come to these settings, right? And when you come to settings, the reason I didn't do all of those stuff was because mine has already been done before now. That's one. I would have tried to do this with another browser, but OBS will not be able to capture all of this stuff. So that's the reason I'm just explaining it like this. So please take note. I'm sorry guys. So you can come to that settings, come to developer settings. Oh, I'm sorry, not there, not there. So you can come to settings over here. The next thing you do is to go to developer settings. This is what you get. You can choose any of these two, OAuth and personal access token. I think personal access token is what you take. Then take classic. Then after that, you generate your token. So you generate your new token using this classic. Now when you generate the token, you need to log in with a password first before this can be generated. So if I add my password, what am I um creating this token for? So I can do something like for alt, right? So I think by default it will take 30 days for this to expire. So you decide to click on all of this stuff or leave them. So at the end you generate your token. Now this token is like a one-time password, right? So this is what will happen. You generate the token, after generating the token, is just to copy this token, right, and paste it inside of that window that will pop up. But me, I don't think I will do all of this because mine, like I said, has already gone through. So this is when you are doing it for the first time. Remember, I said this is a one-time token or one-time password, which means if I refresh this page, I will no longer see this here again. So please take note of that. Let's look at the other case scenario. This is when I have or this is when I'm working on the local repository and I want to push that local repository to GitHub. So how do I do that? So it's very easy. Right? Now, what I will do at first is that I will go back to my Git Bash. So let me work on what I want to push. So I'll clear my screen, right? So remember, I'm still on that repository, the YouTube lecture. So if I see the dot dot, right, and I mkdir, I'll say new repo, right? Let me just call it new repo. So if I create this directory, I could see the new underscore repo, right? So if I do this, clear my screen, right? So let me create files in this. I'll say touch index.html, style.css, then script.js, right? Now, if I check the Git status of this, it will tell me fat are not a Git repository. The reason is because it's not yet a Git repository. So how do I make this a Git repository? So let me show you my PowerPoint slide. Woohoo. So this is my PowerPoint slide. So when I say Git init to initialize an empty repository. So please take note of that. So when I go back to my Git Bash and make use of that command, right? So when I say Git init, is that also? So I initialize empty Git repository on this place. Now, remember, if you are doing a local repository, by default, it comes to the default branch of master. Please take note. Then for a remote repository, it comes to the default branch of main. We saw that before. So please take note. So you can see this master over here. Alright, so if I share the Git status, this is what I'm getting. These are untracked files. So I could say something like git add space dot to add all of these files, right? Then let me clear my screen. So if I check the Git status again, right? So this is what I'm having. Now I could commit git commit -m, right? So I'll say committing files, right? So if I do this and press enter, so I committed them. So how do I push to the remote repository? How do I add it to a remote repository? That's what we want to learn about. So the first thing you need to do is to go back to your browser and you create a new repository. So let me just come back to my profile. This is my profile. Then I'll go to repositories, and I'll click on new repository. Now I like making my repository the same name with the one on the remote repository, so please take note of that. So I think I'm going to call it new repo. So let me just check. Comment right here, it's called new repo. So right, so let me call it new underscore repo. Do I have a new repo? Okay, good, it's available. Now, I don't want to add any of this description and all of this stuff. The reason is because if I don't add the README file, I think GitHub will show me the steps and the process I need to follow and all of this stuff, which is somehow helpful. So please take note of that. Though it's already on my slide, but I just, I prefer doing it this way. So when I click on create repository, so this is it. You can see I have something like git init, git add, git this, and git remote add origin, then git push, right? So please take note of this. So all I need to do, I've already done the first two, right? So if I come back to my git bash, the next command I need to do over here is the git branch, right, -m main. So this will convert it to the main branch. Remember, locally is on the master branch, so I need to take it to the main branch. All right, so when I do this, I will say git remote add origin, right? So let me get my remote URL. So I need to go back to my browser and get this remote URL. So this is remote URL, right? So let me just I could decide to copy this line to make things easy, right? So let me just copy and head over to my git bash. So the next thing I will do is that I will remove this and just paste this over it. So by the time I press enter, this is what I will get, right? So the next thing is to push and set my upstream to main. So let me just show you this. By the time I go back to my browser, you can see the next command, git push -u origin main, right? So that's what I would do. So let me go back to my git bash and do that command. So I'll say git push -u origin main. Now what this -u is doing is a short form of saying upstream. So I'm setting the upstream to main. So when I do this, what should I will get? So as you can see, this has been added to my main branch. So please take note of that. So when I head over to my browser, this is what I will get on my browser. So by the time I reload this page again, this is what I will get. Oh, all right, finally. So this is what I'm getting. So please take note of this. If you notice very well, I created my repo without adding a readme file. So there was nothing like pulling or stuff like that. Let me show you something on my slide. So I'll just explain this. Now on my slide, you notice that I did something like git pull origin main then allow related histories. That's if I had something on my repo before, right? So I need to pull first before I push. This is because if I don't pull, whatever I'm pushing will not be accepted. Git will not accept my changes, so please take note. Then you allow unrelated histories, so please take note of that. I've run into a lot of problems before now, so that's why I said it's very important. So the next thing I'll do is let's talk about branching. I think that's the next thing I have on my slide. So right, this is the last line. So git branching and merging. Now remember I said in git branching refers to the practice of diverging from the main line of development, often called the master branch, to work on a separate line of changes without affecting the main code base. Right, I said branches allows developers to collaborate, isolate new features, bug fixes, or experiment from the main code until they are ready to be merged back. So please take note, that's the power of git. Now with git, 5 developers can work on a single project by making use of branches. You get? Now the reason for that is such that the main code base will not be affected, right? So after everything, you can decide to merge them and all of those stuff. So how do you create a branch? So these are the steps given. Create a branch by using this git switch that see the branch name, git add, git commit, this. So let's go back and try all of this command. Let's see. Now if I go back to my browser, right, Chrome browser, there are some people that normally create their branch by using this, right? When I come here, I think uh they'll click on view a branch and create branch and all of those stuff, but personally that's not my style. I don't like creating my branch from this place. So what I like doing is that I like creating my branch from my terminal or my CLI. So what I will do is that I'll go back to my git bash, right? So I want to create a branch. So this is me. So I'll clear my screen. So remember the command is git switch -c, right? So let me call this one new branch. Is that also? So I've created the branch and I've switched to it directly. So there are there are other commands, right? But this is the one I prefer using. So if you look, I've created this branch and I've switched to it, right? So what I will do is that I can decide to create files inside of this branch. So I could do something like touch, right? So let me say new branch file, new branch underscore file dot txt. Let me just create only this guy. So now if I git branch, right? So you notice I have the main branch and the new branch. I don't sound so much. So I could switch my branches, right? Git switch to main, right? I've been able to switch to my main branch. So if I ls, this is what I'm having. So this is my main branch. So please take note of this. So if I git switch, right, new underscore branch. So this is the command I'm supposed to use. So I've been able to switch back to this branch, right? So now what I will do is this. Okay. Now let me go back to my PowerPoint slide. So this is my PowerPoint slide. So I could do something like git add, right? Then git commit, right? So if I go back to my git bash, so let me work on this command git add. So I've added all these untracked files, right? Then I'll say git commit -m initial commit from a new branch, right? Let me just do this, right? Then now I could do something like git. Let me go back and see. Um, so I could do something like git push hyphen u origin new branch name, right? So please take note of that. So if I come back to this place, I could do something like git push hyphen u, sorry, git push origin hyphen u, right? Then the new branch name is called new underscore branch, right? So I think the command that I could use is git push origin, right? Now say hyphen set hyphen upstream to the new underscore branch, right? So this is what I'm supposed to do. So let's see if it will work. So the network is pretty bad today, so I think it worked. So I've been able to push this to this branch, right? So please take note of this. Now all I need to do is to go back to my browser, right? So when I come back to my browser, if I refresh, this is what I'm getting. It's trying to tell me that a new branch has been pushed here, right? So I don't know if you saw that message at first. I've already clicked on the refresh button. Now if you look at this, I'm having index, script and style, right? So these guys are not also here, so please take note of that. So if I come back to this branch tab, you can see the new branch, right? So look, okay, say new branch add recent push 25 seconds ago. So now this is the new branch, right? So please take note of this. Now it has the previous files, which is not supposed to. There's a way I could avoid that, right? But I don't know. I don't know, for some reason, just like that. This video is getting too long. So let me just do something. Now you notice that I've been able to, add these files to this, and now my main branch is telling me that I'm having a see what's telling me. It's telling me that I'm having a recent push, right? This push was done 1 minute ago, right? So remember I said the idea of branching is such that after the work has been done, I could merge them at last, right? So let's go back to my PowerPoint slide. There's something I need to see. Okay, after creating, the next thing is merging. So the merging is not that difficult, so I could come back here, right? I can compare and pull, right? So please take note of that. That's what we mean by, okay, create a pull request and all of this stuff. So now this is this initial commit for a new branch. That was my commit message. So I could add any other thing of my choice, right? So I could create a pull request, right? Now after creating this pull request, I think it needs to be accepted and merged. That's for different developers, right? Now I have an issue here that is open, right? So this was happening, checking for availability test and all of those stuff. So I could merge the pull request. Now the reason is because why I have this ability to merge the pull request myself is because I'm the one that created the branch. So it's a single, a single repo. I'm the one working on it, both the main and the other branch, right? So if it were a team of developers, the main owner of the repo will be the one that will have the ability to merge pull request, right? So what you need to do as a developer in the project but not the main owner, you can create your branch, right? Create a pull request, but you not have access to merge it unless you are being granted, right? So please take note. Then now I could decide to merge this pull request now, right? So I could confirm the merge and all of this stuff. So that's for that. So you can see it said my pull request has been merged successfully. So if I come back to this new repo, I think that the txt file will be added to the main branch now. I think so. So let's see. So you can see new branch txt file, right? New branch file.txt. So please take note of this, right? All right. So this is all about this. Now there's what we call forking a repo. So this is what I would do to demonstrate that. So if I come back to my profile now, to fork a repo simply means to get everything on that repo and take it to your own repo as if you are the one that created the repo. I don't know how to put this explanation very well. So I think that's what it means. So if I could search for any project of my choice, let me see. Okay, let me check for my followers. Okay. If I go to my followers, um, who is this? I don't know this person. Okay. Now this is Mark Powell, right? So if I click on this Mark Powell's, right? Now this person has this project. He has Facebook clone and all of those stuff, right? Um, think I have this project as well. Okay, so let me click on this repo for instance. Let me say I like this repo and I want to take everything on it. So if I don't want to pass through the stress of cloning the repo and pushing it to my repo again and all of those stuff, there's something I can do. I could decide to fork the repo, right? So if I fork this repo, huh, what will happen? I've succeeded in forking the repo. So it's as though I'm creating this repo on my own repository, right? So let me create the fork. You could add the description, right? So please take note of that. Now it's creating the fork. Let's wait a bit. The network is pretty slow today. Hmm. Right now, this is what I'm having on my repository. So it's now as though I'm the one that created the repo. So if I come back to my profile, I want you guys to see this. This is the last thing we'll talk about. So I'm pretty much done with this tutorial. It's taking a bit long. So this is what I'm having. Can you see the repo I just forked? So this is it. Express word trade admin. I think this is the repo, right? So now what happened? If you notice very well, this thing is it's been added to my repo as though as though I'm the one that created the repo. And again, the date in which the original repo was created, that was the date used over here, right? Or the date the last commit or the last push was made to the repo. So if you look at it, it said forked from macOS 272 slash express admin, right? So please take note of this. So that's that about forking the repo. Now it's now as though I'm the one that has this repo, right? If I clone this repository, I could decide to push to it, there will be no issue, but it won't affect the original repo from the original creator in his own account. So please take note of that. Now that's pretty much that about my Git and GitHub tutorial. We've covered a lot, right? So please take your time and study all of the things we covered, down from the explanation down to the share navigation down to the GitHub itself. Please do it to follow me on GitHub. So thanks very much, guys. I hope to see you next time. I think my next video will be on React. I don't know yet, but let's just see. Feel free to stick around. I'll be releasing more videos. Thanks very much, guys. I really appreciate it.